amazing to see what I just saw coming up the street and what I see from this stage. I have been observing this and supporting it from afar as I've been busy on the road working on my next project. And as I finished my work last night, we were in New York City, and around midnight I thought I would write up a little blog of something I wanted to say about what was going on here, especially after having just listened to Bill O'Reilly and Sarah Palin. It was inspirational. And so about midnight I started writing this, and around 2 a.m. I read it back to myself and I thought, you know, you should just go to the airport and get on a plane and go to Madison, Wisconsin, and read this to them. So here I am. Before I read this, I first just want to thank, you don't know how impressive it is to the rest of the country to see these 14 senators still refusing to participate in the scam of the century. So if they're listening, thank you. Thank you, Wisconsin 14. Thank you, Fab 14. None of us really know what the exact specific outcome of all of this will be. We have a good feeling about it, though. We have a real good feeling about it. But one thing I do know is that these 14 senators will go down in the history books of labor history in America. They have done something absolutely profound, and we will never forget their courage. This kind of resolve we're used to seeing on the other side of the fence. If I can just tell tales out of school here for a second.
He seems so excited.
It's just amazing. They only need one of them to crack. Only one has to come back. And they won't do it. Not one. Not one. And they're Democrats. Positive way. But you know, our side, we're a little all, you know, well, maybe, you know, we should go back and talk to them, you know, we're good-hearted people, they'll listen. I mean, that's what we're kind of used to, right? Not in Wisconsin! So I would like to read to you my statement for today, March 5th, 2011. And I am so honored and privileged to be able to have this opportunity to stand here with you and say these things that need to be said, things that I want to personally say about this whole thing. And this is called America is not broke. And that's right, neither is Wisconsin. America is not broke. Contrary to what those in power would like you to believe, so that you'll give up your pension, cut your wages, and settle for the life your great-grandparents had, America is not broke. Not by a long shot. The country is awash in wealth and cash.
It is.
It's just that it's not in your hands. transferred in the greatest heist in history from the workers and consumers to the banks and the portfolios of the uber rich. Right now, this afternoon, just 400 Americans, 400, have more wealth than half of all Americans combined. Let me say that again. And please, someone in the mainstream media, just repeat this fact once. We're not greedy. We'll be happy to hear it just once. 400 obscenely wealthy individuals. 400 little Mubaraks. Most of whom benefited in some way from the multi-trillion-dollar taxpayer bailout of 2008, now have more cash, stock, and property than the assets of 155 million Americans combined. It is a shame. If you can't bring yourself to call that a financial coup d'etat, then you are simply not being honest with what you know in your heart to be true. But I can see why people don't want to even think about this. For us to admit that we have let a small group of men abscond with and hoard the bulk of the wealth that runs our economy would mean that we'd have to accept the humiliating acknowledgement that we have indeed surrendered our precious democracy to the moneyed elite. Wall Street, the banks, and the Fortune 500 now run this republic. And until this past month, here in Madison, Wisconsin, the rest of us, until then, have felt completely helpless, unable to find a way to do anything about it. Now, just like your soon-to-be ex-governor, education. But, Governor Walker, back when I was in school, every student had to take 1 semester of economics in order to graduate. And here's what I learned. Money doesn't grow on trees. Unless it's a palm tree. It grows when we make things. It grows when we have good jobs with good wages that we use to buy the things we need. And guess what? That creates more jobs. It grows when we provide an outstanding educational system. An educational system that then grows a new generation of inventors, entrepreneurs, artists, scientists, thinkers, the people who will come up with the next great idea for this planet. And those ideas create jobs. And the jobs produce tax revenue. But the few the most money don't want to pay their fair share of the taxes. They'd rather invest it in a gambling casino known as Wall Street, betting for or against the stock market or against your home mortgage. And the entire population suffers because that wealth has been removed from circulation. What's so cynical about this is that the very people who don't pay their taxes crashed our economic system. They created the unemployment, which has caused less tax revenue. And states like Wisconsin have ended up with a so-called budget crisis. But Wisconsin is not broke. It's one of the three biggest lies of the last decade. What are the three biggest lies? Let's repeat them. Number one, Wisconsin is broke. Number two, there's weapons of mass destruction in Iraq.